Hey, this is Tom, Tom's Tech Show. Today I have to talk about something that, oh my gosh, the Orville. Hey there, I just watched the Orville episode called Identity. It's part one. I have forever been a Star Trek fan. I have my little Enterprise up here that flies around, and of course Buzz Lightyear is very, space worthy. I have tons of Star Trek figures. I've bought and sold some of them over the years. I grew up, as a kid watching Star Trek. It was the thing that we did. Dad came home from work. We sat down. We did the thing. We had dinner. We put the TV on, and at 6 o'clock, where we lived was Star Trek: The Original Series. Boom, right then, every single day. I mean, we got to where we could know the dialogue as it was, coming on. We knew, every episode, every meaning behind every episode, all of those different things. So now that, the new Star Trek Discovery, I watched like 3 episodes of the first season and said, this is not Star Trek, this is not for me, this is not what it is. It's official, Gene Roddenberry is now dead, right? That's kind of the way I see it. But at the same time, Seth MacFarlane saw this hole and said, this space, and said, let's create something. And the first season I thought was really good. I mean, it was just, a lot of shows that really, a lot of episodes that really just kind of spoke to me. What's the one we have? Let's go back to, I'm going to look at season 1 here. There's one episode, and some of them are just my favorites. Like If the Stars Should Appear, that was just like straight, that could have been just straight, completely, a regular Star Trek show. The Majority Rule, that just spoke so much to current society today, current how things are today, that you can be basically destroyed in the court of public opinion. And that's what the entire movie was on, or the entire episode was on, was just about that there's a planet and it's all ruled by your status on social media. And if you get too many dislikes, then you've committed a crime. So, I mean, just speaking straight to, today's society, which is what Star Trek did in that day. And just amazing. Now we have this new episode called Identity, where I'll put a thing up here. This is from this point on. There may be spoilers. I don't, So if you have not seen Identity Part 1, if you haven't watched Orville at all, go now. Start at season 1 and just start working through it, and just go through it this weekend. Go through it now before next week, and Identity Part 2. If this is later and you've already seen it, then you're probably okay. Okay. All right. So from this point on, we'll put a little spoiler banner here that says spoilers after this. Okay. So Identity Part 1 is basically, right, we get the Borg episode or the Cylon episodes, Cylon kind of time frame and thing put into the Orville. We have to have, we have all of our enemies that are local, the Krill and everything else, all those different things that are there, that are just kind of the annoying enemies that we run into from time to time and have to deal with. But there hasn't been an overarching enemy that is, like almost impossible to defeat. Voyager, Species 8472, how do you defeat them? In the other Star Trek's Next Generation was the Borg, and how do we defeat the Borg and keep them from coming after us? And in Battlestar Galactica, of course, we had the Cylon, and keeping away from them and keeping them from destroying what's left. So this is what we end up with, and it was done so incredibly well. Everything just continues to call back to Star Trek and how Star Trek is and was, and adding Seth MacFarlane and his sense of humor. The, Bortus not getting his corner piece of cake, them standing in the place, in the control center or whatever, the lobby, whatever it is down on Kalon, and they ask, you don't have any chairs? Well, of course not. They're machines. They don't sit down, right? So there's no chairs. It's just over and over again, just amazing. And just the things that they find and how they find it and the story behind it. How it just slowly, something is happening in this episode because it's a two-parter. So they were able to stretch the beginning of it out and see how it's, we've created this connection between, Dr. Finn and Isaac, and that's, what starts this whole thing, that Isaac shuts down. They have to go to his homeworld, and the rest of it just slowly uncovers, it's like, why is it taking them so long to decide whether they want to be part of the union and stuff like that. I mean, just everything about it was just amazing. I cannot even believe. I mean, it's like if you were on the fence before about whether should I continue watching Star Trek, maybe I should try the Orville, what back and forth. It's done. It's over. There is no Star Trek. There is no Picard show. There is no other spin-offs. There is nothing. There is only the Orville for me. I mean, that is it. I may watch like the first Picard episode, but I think it's just going to end up being the same kind of, kill the mansplaining guy, social justice garbage and all that. I think it's just going to still be that because it's still those people, where the Orville is just incredible storytelling about, them in space and still being, like the next generation, which was we can do things, let's go to the holodeck and do things that are, self-improving and things that we can do just because, we have all this technology. We can learn music. We can, learn acting. We can do all these different things. And they would use the holodecks and everything to improve themselves as a group, not improve yourself because, you fit into this, identity or anything like that. It's like everybody on the ship, can do whatever they want and improve themselves however they want, and irregardless of who they are and what they are, what their identity is or anything. It's such an even playing field, equal, it's an equal opportunity place, we're not forcing equal outcome. We're, just have equal opportunity for everybody to do everything. And through that, you get these stories that unfold that, now, I mean, if we would have known in episode 1 that this episode was coming, they probably have been trickling things, into episodes, especially in season 2, that, I'm going to have to go back and rewatch all the season 2 episodes to see what they've, trickled in. We know it's Isaac, and we know that he, sends reports back and to Kalon, throughout the seasons, through all the episodes, and how he's just using himself as kind of the emissary. That's what they call him, the emissary, which I think is kind of interesting because that Penny Johnson-Herald, playing Claire Finn, is having a relationship with an emissary, which also parallels her role in Deep Space Nine, where she had a relationship with the emissary in Deep Space Nine. So it's all these different things, that are just calling back to all the people who love Star Trek and who understood what it was and what the meaning was and everything else that Gene Roddenberry was trying to put forward. That's been lost in the Star Trek Discovery and anything else that they do. I'm sure it's just going to be gone. But this is what we were wanting and what we were, desiring for, this episodic, type of program set in a sci-fi world, but it's still about the frailties of life and relationships and how things get complicated and how, the things that, you're going through personally with career, with what you're doing and everything else. That speaks to everybody personally. and on a personal level. I mean, how different things happen in relationships, you know, back and forth, and how people fight, and how people, you know, have good and bad relationships, and they break up, and then they're trying to do something better for themselves. You know, that's today, that's everyday life, and that's what Star Trek had. You know, that everyone was trying to improve themselves without, you know, once we get rid of the need for money, then all that's left is for you to improve yourself and be a better yourself, right? And that's what this has. And just in the sci-fi world, they just happen to be out in space, and, you know, running into very space, you know, oriented aliens and things like that, that people like myself love and enjoy, you know, watching. Okay, so if you haven't watched the Orville, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. I mean, I think that, you know, if we look at, you know, the Rotten Tomatoes scores, they did some weird things. I mean, the first season was really low, you know, Rotten Tomato score, but the people who want to see it all, and the reviewers and stuff, who, the fans basically, who are looking at it, are like, this is something I want to see. So you end up with a really low, you know, I think the day of you know, Rotten Tomatoes scores being what people want to see, I think that's about over, because you can't have a Rotten Tomatoes score that's really low and then all the fans just love it and continue to go see it, right? I mean, and this year's Rotten Tomatoes score is really high for some reason. You know, it's like, what happened? I think, you know, I know that Fox was bought by Disney, and I don't know that if all the reviewers now feel that they need to kiss up to Disney in order to, you know, be able to stay reviewing. You know, you can't give, I guess they feel if you give Disney too many bad reviews, that they're gonna, you know, keep you from reviewing things. So I don't know if that's what's going on, but I don't know. Just watch the Orville. Watch the latest episode. It pays off. It pays off big, and I'm just gonna continue to enjoy it. All right. Well, thanks for watching this. I do all kinds of videos about things that interest me, and this definitely interested me today, for sure. So go watch the Orville, and like this video, subscribe to my channel, all that stuff. It all helps. You want to comment, you want to talk about it. Okay, so I do videos like this, whatever's on my mind about TV and movies. I also do videos on photography. I do videos on technology. That's kind of my day job, and I put all that stuff out there just to try and help people with technology stuff that they do. That kind of gets searched on and hit, so it's a good variety. It's a variety channel of stuff, but it's all kind of geared towards technology and details and stuff like that. So go watch the Orville, and thanks for watching.